Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the Gospel, Matthew chapter 19, verses 1 through 12. Now, Jesus is moving towards Jerusalem, heads down to Judea. The large crowds following. He's healing people, which means that he's doing battle with the brokenness of this world, with sin and the demonic. And some Pharisees come up to him and they're trying to trap him in the law. And they ask, can a man divorce his wife for any and every reason? And which they did back in those times. Some Pharisees taught that. And Jesus just flips this right around on them. Well, what have you read in the scriptures? And, he says, the Creator, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, from the very beginning made them male and female. In other words, God gave the blessing of sexual identity, of who men and women are. It's a gift from God, not a construct of humanity. And he goes on to say that for this reason, a man will leave behind his family, his parents, and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. And then he wraps up with this: what God has done, what God has joined together, don't let anyone get in the middle of that. Don't let sin get in the middle of that. You see, because God is giving a blessing. God is giving a promise of marriage and of family. This is a gift from God. Again, it's not a human construct. But we know that sin scars our marriages, sin scars our families, but God gives us forgiveness to bring healing in the midst of those pains. Well, the Pharisees come right back at him. Well, why did Moses give a law to divorce a wife if God gave the blessing of marriage? Why didn't he say you could have a certificate of divorce? And Jesus pops them right between the eyes, right? Moses allowed you to have this certificate, not because you guys are so great, but because your hearts are hard. Now, I want you to think through the Old Testament, whose hearts were hard? Pharaoh's, the enemies of Israel, and even Israel itself had hard hearts. This is not a good thing. You refuse to live by the promise. And he says, I tell you, the only exception is for sexual immorality, which is kind of a joke because, who is chasing after the women, right? It's the men. It's an open joke because the women don't have the freedom in that society to do this. And then the disciples are searching for a rule. They're looking for a law to hold on to, that they can work on. Okay, well, maybe we can be better than marriage. What if we became, never married? And then Jesus uses a very odd word in the Hebrew language, which is a eunuch. And, he says some are born, some are made, and some choose. In order to, they renounce their sexual relations, they renounce marriage in order to serve God and others. And then he says this at the end. He says, the one who can accept this should accept it. What is the word that he's asking us to accept? I think it's more than the word about being a eunuch. It's really, are we willing to renounce the sinful desires, but more importantly, to grab hold of God's promises, to live together as families, as people together, as marriages, by God's grace, not by our works, because we can never do enough. Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.